Now, before we get to the discussions, viewers at home, remember you can send your questions via our TTT Live online Facebook page, and you can also give us a call at 622-4010. We do take a short break, but stay with us because when we come back, we jump straight into the conversation. We'll see you soon.
Are you on board yet? Don't line up. Sign up and enjoy the convenience of the direct deposit system from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Yes, convenience is at your fingertips when you sign up to receive your disability assistance and public assistance grants and senior citizens pension directly from your bank account. No need to worry. Your money is safe and free from fraud and theft. So avoid lining up and try signing up. Log on to www.social.gov.tt or visit your local board office for more details and sign up today. Remember, direct deposit. It's fast, it's easy, and it's safe. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives.
The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals, families, and households. These support services include counseling and psychosocial support, workshops and webinars, and sensitization sessions under the parenting unit, support to grandparents raising their grandchildren under the grandparenting program. Support is offered anonymously and free of charge. For more information, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extension 6701 to 6711. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives.
Welcome back to It's Family Time. Let's talk as we begin the discussion this afternoon on discipline, punishment, and children's resilience is what we're going to be discussing. And we've got two clinical psychologists in with us, as well as a counselor and social worker from the Ministry of Social Services. And we're going to start because I think there are misconceptions. People don't exactly understand, or they draw a thin line, and I understand it's a big divide between discipline and punishment. So we're going to begin discussing exactly what is discipline, what is punishment, because we need to know the difference between the two. And to start us off this afternoon, I think I'm going to jump to right away Miss Krista Ali. Good afternoon to you all, by the way.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure having you all here this afternoon with me. And we're jumping right into the discussion because we also want people to call in at 622-4010. We also want them to send their messages to our TTT Live online Facebook page and send your messages via that. But I'm going to ask you, Miss Ali, the difference between, not Krista, I mean Ahalia is who I'm talking about, Ahalia Ramdas. Oh my goodness, Krista's next to me, Ahalia Ramdas. What is the difference between discipline and punishment?
Thanks so much for that really great question. So the first thing we need to understand is that, unfortunately, we often use discipline and punishment interchangeably when we're talking about the topic at large. But like you mentioned, there is a really, really big difference, and it is quite significant. When we think about punishment, it's meant to inflict pain, it's meant to humiliate, it can cause harm and really degrade the child that you're attempting to discipline in the name of punishment, right? So it does not teach alternatives. It does not tell the child what you've actually, or what you should actually be doing. It's just stopping them from doing that wrong behavior, wrong action in that moment. When we think about discipline, it's actually much more than that. It is a way to teach and guide children toward the targets or the positive behaviors we'd like to see them exhibit and display. And so it's really about giving them alternatives. And it does not have that element of harm, of humiliation, of degrading them, because children, as we know, are, they are owed, just like every human being, they are owed respect. And we have to move away from that idea that children should be seen and not heard, that children should step aside when an adult comes into play, and really accord them the respect that they deserve, that they're entitled to, and understand that humiliating is not the way to teach them the positive behaviors we'd like to see.
Unfortunately, though, that is a culture in Trinidad and Tobago. But Christina, as we were speaking earlier on, it also tends to instill fear, which is not something we want to do to children. We don't want to instill that fear in children. So how do we get around that?
Yeah, definitely. So the whole idea of punishing a child and using punishment, and here, we'll be referring to corporal punishment, where some sort of blows is inflicted towards that child. It does instill a sense of fear, where children grow up being actually afraid of whomever is administering this punishment, most usually parents. This causes a lot of psychological damage to children from a very, very young age, and they grow up with that sense of fear, sense of being afraid to try new things. We see these type of things in children where corporal punishment is being used within the family unit. So what we really want to go towards is disciplinary measures where you're actually teaching children how to make better decisions. It's about them understanding why this particular behavior is wrong and what I can do instead. That's what we want to move towards, which is called positive parenting and a positive disciplinary style. So that's what we want to move towards.
Now, I could say, and I mean, there are lots of people out there, lots of parents out there who will say, but I get licks when I was a child, and I turn out okay, nothing wrong with me. But that's not true, is it?
No, it most definitely is not. And another thing that punishment teaches is it teaches a child how to hide and how to effectively do what they're being told is wrong behind the scenes. So they become really good at just hiding because they don't have the alternatives, because they don't know, okay, if I should not do this, then what am I actually doing? And it also creates that challenge for us where children then perpetuate that same style of discipline. And again, I'm saying discipline because a lot of the times we think punishment is discipline, which we've established it is not.
As we talk about discipline and punishment, is punishment still widely used? I probably know the answer to this question already. Is punishment still widely used across Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, so corporal punishment is definitely still widely used. And I think in our society, this is something, just like many other things, that's been handed down throughout the generations. As you were saying earlier, a lot of parents say, this was done to me and I turned out to be fine. So it's a learned technique, and this is all that they know. So these are the techniques and the methods that they are using on their children as well, with the hope or with some sort of intention that they too are going to turn out fine. Really whatever that means, by whatever standard they use and that they are fine. At the authority, we have been keeping statistics. We keep track of the type of reports of abuse that is reported to us. And physical abuse, physical punishment continues to be within the top 3 types of abuse that's reported to us. So the first one would be neglect. The main type would be neglect, closely followed by sexual abuse, and then that is closely followed by physical abuse. So yes, the statistics does indicate that physical punishment, physical abuse continues to be widely used in our society.
And it's a cycle as well.
Most definitely.
Ovida Franklin from the ministry. How is this related to resilience, and what exactly is resilience in children?
Okay, so resiliency is the process of persons learning to adapt to changes within the environment. So whether that change is trauma that would have taken place, some tragedy that would have occurred, whatever it is learning to adapt it. Why is it important that we learn to adapt to change in our environment? Because change is inevitable. That's number one. And number two, we're not living in a perfect world. I wish we were, right? Unfortunately, we are not. So resiliency helps persons to kind of learn how to bounce back when situations would occur. And it gives them the hope that it helps them to be optimistic, I must say. Right? So one of the things that we at the National Family Services do is one of the things that helps a lot, the approach we use is cognitive behavioral therapy. Because with resiliency, it is more so, it is not a skill or something that we are born with. It is really about the thought process, the behavior, and the actions that are attached to it. Right? So we recognize that persons need to change their thought process. Instead of looking at the glass half empty, we look at it half full. Right? And then you teach that to children. You teach them to be optimistic, to look at situation. Okay, so you're going to a new school, and I know that you probably miss your friend at the preschool, and you start in this new school today, but look at it this weekend. It's a great opportunity for you to meet new friends, right? And stuff like that. So modeling is very important in the aspect of parenting. So you model the behavior towards the child. You're teaching the child how to be resilient. Problem solving also. Teaching the child problem solving skills. You in teaching, you're showing the child how you are problem solving when stuff happens within your own situation and within your environment. So modeling is important.
And, as you're saying and, mentioning these things, I'm hearing the discipline coming into that as well with the role modeling and teaching children positive attitudes. And instead of punishing them for something that they may have done, we do have a Facebook question already, though, and this one is a pretty good one. Apart from bruises, etc., what are signs that children may be experiencing physical punishment or abuse? Because it's not always bruises. So how do we know?
So there are so many signs that indicate any type of neglect or abuse. Oftentimes it would be the same signs for various types of abuse, but aside from physical scars and broken bones, which are easy to tell, you can also tell if a child has become withdrawn and they isolate themselves. You can tell if there's a decline in academic performance. Another sign, of course, is when at times children may be fearful. So you might find that they are hanging around in school a little bit longer, a little bit later, because they don't want to return home. Yeah. They may become clingy with you and not want to separate and leave with whomever is picking them up from school. So there are so many different things, and a lot of the times it's difficult to tell because these signs so closely mirror typical developmental signs. As children move through childhood, move through adolescence, you would find that they look similar. So it's really important that if you notice that a child is not behaving in that typical way, and as teachers, you would know what is the norm or the base for that particular child, then it's important that you pay attention. They may pull away from their friends. They may not want to participate in some of the activities that they previously loved doing in class, even extracurricular activities. So, all of these are really important things to pay attention to. I don't know if Krista wants to add to the list.
Sure, I just wanted to add in a couple. Children who experience physical abuse, they tend to have an increased startle response. And this is something I see very often when I'm working with children, where if I just go like this to grab something, they jump away. Right, that is usually a big red flag that something is going on in that child, where they're fearful. They're fearful of something, and they're usually fearful of all the adults around them. Because kids growing up, they're not able to tell who's a safe person, who's a trusted person, from somebody who's going to be a perpetrator and abuse them. Another way that we see it in children is that they start acting out very violently. All of the types of behaviors that's being inflicted upon them, they start lashing out, and they start doing it to their peers as well. That's another major red flag for teachers to look out for, principals, anybody around children. Those are some really good red flags to look out for and, bring it to somebody's attention that something might be going on with this child. Yeah.
And there's so many other red flags. And we're going to be talking more about this: punishment, discipline, child resilience, all that. We do take a short break and we'll be right back. Don't forget, you can call us at 622-4010. You can also post on our Facebook page, TTT Live Online, and all of that. We'll be right back.
National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals, families, and households. These support services include counseling and psychosocial support, workshops and webinars, and sensitization sessions under the parenting unit, support to grandparents raising their grandchildren under the grandparenting program. Support is offered anonymously and free of charge. For more information, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extension 6701 to 6711. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Helping, empowering, transforming lives.
Welcome back to It's Family Time, Let's Talk. And we took to the streets of San Juan to get the public's view on today's topic, which is, of course, discipline, punishment, and developing children's resistance. And here are some of the comments made by both men and women.
Sometimes, like when they get in trouble and things, I have to talk to them a little hard, so they go understand when they get bigger now why you're talking to them hard. It doesn't make sense beating them, but yeah, it'll be chill. You just talk to them hard, so when they grow, they'll understand that. That's why they was talking to you hard, they wasn't doing something good.
Deny them stuff to like, can't be them, because you get locked up. Isn't it? Well, I think it's good to, you know. They deny them things that they already like. Price and the best speed of it.
Well, I've got punishment for children based on what they did. Okay, that's a discipline term based on what they did. To take away the device, we could tell them they're not going anywhere based on what they did.
Well, it all starts with the parent. All your progress in the children now. It's all about, what we do is about, they can't practice something and it'll preach. They have to be able to start by a bad inside, but they see it. Let them see it. Correct.
Best form of punishment, to my ability, is to take away things they love, things that they spend most time doing. You take it away for a while, and then they would want it back. So they would try and do something positive instead of the negative. Yeah, to get back their heads out.
Okay, some interesting comments there that I actually want to tackle, because there was one, I like the one where they said, the parents pattern the behavior. So, that the child will learn from that and what should be and what shouldn't be and that type of thing. There was also the first comment that said, talking hard. And I want your opinion on that. You're talking hard to them. You're not beating them. You're not hitting them or anything like that, but you're talking hard at them. I don't know how hard to get a shout. I'm not exactly sure to what extent, but how would that affect a child? And also the other thing where they say they would take away their devices as a form of punishment. Punishment, discipline, which is it, and what strategies can we really use?
I found that first one to be a very interesting comment when he said, when you grow up, you'll remember that's why they were talking to me. You will remember. But you know what you're going to remember? That my father and mother used to shout at me.
That's why,
that is the only thing that you're actually going to remember. Yes. And that is the only thing that's going to be the takeaway from that type of strategy that person is using. Parenting is a strategy. Discipline is a strategy, and it's a choice. We have to make very mindful choices when we are trying to implement discipline. And I'm not going to use that word punishment. I'm going to stick to discipline, because that's what we want to move toward.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is why we say it's very important for you to be mindful before trying to enact any sort of discipline. Because if you are angry, you're going to be shouting at your child. And that's not something that's going to be useful in the long run. So you have to be very mindful of yourself and what you are about to do before trying to implement any type of discipline.
And as you say that, I'm thinking of adults as well in the workplace, because they always say, do not do anything. You must get angry in your workplace, but do not act in that anger. Do not send an email. Do not make phone calls. Do not do this. Do not do that. And it works too with your family, with your children. It's the same premise.
So it's very easy. It's very easy to cross a line when you are acting in emotions. And so we always advise parents, if something happens and you become angry or you are overly emotional, take a step away.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to be lost from taking a moment to calm down before you approach it again. And what I want to say, and I think it's really important that that we talk about and that parents know, and is one of the hallmarks of positive parenting, is when you develop a relationship, a real genuine relationship with your children, there's no need to shout. When you establish clear boundaries and you explicitly teach your children what are the expectations, what are the consequences for breaking these expectations, when you have that safe and judgment-free space, that children know they could come to you. If something is wrong, if they've done something wrong, then there's no need to shout. You can have a discussion about the misstep, about the mistake, about the accident, if you want to call it an accident, and you work it through together. And I think that's one of the really wonderful things about positive parenting, about positive discipline, and that is that relationship. And too often we find that parents do not prioritize building a genuine relationship with their children as they would their peers, as they would their spouse, as they would other family members, because we don't see it as a priority. We think, okay, the children, they're existing in the home. But it's important that we get to that place where we actually sit and talk with our children. We get to know who they are, what they like, and not just from an observing point of view, but engaging. We're talking a lot about modeling, and it's important to get there down on the ground with your kids, get involved in the activities they're interested in, and that's how you build that trust and that relationship that will help. Because a lot of times parents laugh when you tell them about positive discipline and you tell them about different strategies. They laugh, bad, and I'm not going to do anything, or taking away something isn't going to do anything, you have to smack them. But when there's that relationship and when children understand clearly what this is about, then you find that it's easier, and it's not about being your child's friend at all. It's about being that trusted adult who is there guiding them along the way, teaching them along the way. And I think, that cannot be emphasized enough. Build genuine relationships with your children, and you're going to see a turnaround in the way that they behave and the way that they approach challenges.
Ovida Franklin, I think this is a good one to toss to you, because I know that the ministry has been doing a lot of workshops and various things, and along positive parenting as well. How? Because it's not easy being a parent. I mean, up to even yesterday, my mother said the same thing. It's not easy being a parent, and we're grown adults.
Yes.
So how can parents get to that point? Because our culture, the way we've grown up, it doesn't allow that. So how? I mean, we see it in U.S. cultures where they have that, communication. They talk to their children. You would go to the grocery and you see the parents talking to the children. They're shopping together. Oh, would you like this? Da, da, da. And, pick it up, put it in your trolley. We tend to shout. We tend to shout. So how? The ministry, tell us how with all these workshops that are taking place.
Yes, I think culture plays a heavy role in how we parent. And before I mention the programs that we do, I want to make mention of just listening to the feedback we would have gotten from some of the persons. And I want to say that correcting a child's behavior is so important, right? When we punish the child, we're not correcting the behavior doesn't change. I always ask parents, you beat the child once for stealing. Did you have to beat the child a second time? If the answer is yes, then it didn't work. Right? So the behavior was not corrected. The other thing, and then we have parents that would say, well, the licks work because when I beat the child for stealing, the child did not steal again. And it's not that the licks work, it's that you are telling the child is that in order for the child's behavior to change, then some form of violence has to be introduced, right? So you're actually introducing the child to violent behavior. So the child goes out there and the child wants somebody to do something for them or to stop doing something that they're not pleased with. So the child uses violence because you you taught the child to use violence as the method of getting whatever I want her to make the person to stop. So you're teaching the child that, right? And so that's some of the things we covered at our ministry during in our workshops. So we have parenting workshops, co-parenting workshops, grandparenting workshops, and we let the parents know. It's a very interactive sessions. Parents tell us, the young woman mentioned about taking away devices, and so some homes realistically do not have things to take away from children because of the economic situation in the home. But we always tell parents, you know your child, you know what will work with him and her. Don't use what your neighbor next door would have used with his or her child, but you know your child. It's now for you to get creative and innovative in correcting the child's behavior, right? So we have our parenting workshops, grandparenting workshops that we normally just give the information, share the information, and help parents along the way, because it's hard. Parenting is hard, right? And most of the time, parents are fearful that they're making mistakes and they're not doing it correct.
But they do. But that's all part of it.
Yes. Right?
As long as you learn from it as well.
Yes.
In the same way that you want to teach the child the correct thing and discipline them the proper way.
Yes.
We do make mistakes.
Yes.
Parents do make mistakes, but yes,
I think what Avita said was so important in knowing your child.
Yes.
And again, it ties back to having relationship with your child, real relationship, so that you actually know. And for parents to know, and caregivers, grandparents, aunties, uncles, whoever are involved in parenting children, that there is no prescriptive list. None of us can sit here as professionals and give you a checkbox list that will work for every single child. Children are unique, and each child has to be treated as such, as a unique individual. And so that's why it's important to know your children, and for us to be mindful that what works for the older sibling is not going to work for the middle child, is not going to work for the younger one, is not going to work for the cousin. You know, your pastor tell you to try so-and-so, the man down the street tell you to try so-and-so. It's not going to work for your child, because your child is your child, and they are distinctly different. And so we have to always keep that in mind as well.
So in light of that, Krista Ali, what are some of the alternatives then can parents do? Because we're talking discipline, you said we're not doing the punishment thing, we're talking discipline, because that's where we need to go. That's positive parenting. What are some of the alternatives? Because it's difficult. You know, we're all saying that parenting is not an easy job. There's no manual for it. So what are some of the alternatives?
It's definitely not an easy job, right? So we are saying here, and this is what I always tell parents, you are the experts on your child. So in that way, you can always tell when something is off with your child. And in that way, you also know the different aspects of your child, to know what methods and the different techniques that you can use with your child. So earlier in the comments, some persons were talking about taking away devices and things like that, something that they really like. That is a strategy that can be used when done correctly. It's really about speaking to your child from the beginning for them to understand why this particular behavior is unwanted. And I really need to say this at this point. We have a tendency to call children bad in our society. There are no bad children. Children are not born inherently bad. It's just a bad behavior or an unwanted behavior. And if we start looking at it like that, from that perspective, where it's simply just one behavior I'm trying to move away from, you have to teach your child an alternative behavior.
Right.
Now, being a good role model for your child is very important, because I can't be telling my child, don't be doing naughty things in school, don't be bad talking other children in school, when I'm on the phone whole day gossiping away, and my child is seeing that, because children mimic the behavior that they're going to see around them. We're not trying to say that adults need to be perfect. We're not trying to say that we can't make mistakes, because in the same way that we're saying there are no bad children, you're not inherently a bad parent. You might make some bad decisions sometimes, right? So it's about forgiving yourself as well for the things that you might have done in the past, but making a choice, because as I was saying earlier, this is really a choice. Positive parenting is a choice, and making positive choices moving forward is very important. So Yeah, taking away devices, having clear boundaries in terms of you're going to have TV time at this particular time and then you have to go and do X, Y, Z after. Letting them know that there are consequences for the behaviors that's unwanted is a very good strategy from the beginning, so that they know that if I engage in this behavior, this is going to be the consequence. And make it realistic, make it understandable for them in a manner that they're going to know exactly what is expected of me and what is going to happen if I don't, do what I'm supposed to do, if I do something that is unwanted.
No. What I keep hearing all the time is basically communication
yes.
with your child.
Yes.
That's like the most important thing, basically.
Yeah.
But we've got parents who are working almost all the time. They're busy. It's difficult, to put food on the table, have a roof over their head, buy their books, do this, do that. So many different things, the vagaries of life, they get involved. So how does a parent balance that and still find that time for that child? I know you will say they have to put that time aside, but sometimes it's also very difficult. And parents will argue that I just don't have the time.
I want to challenge that a little.
Go right ahead.
Because the thing is, right, parents make time for all the other things that they want to do, right? You're making time to talk to your friends, to go out, to do everything else. But when it comes to doing something positive with your children, suddenly nobody has any time.
It has to be a priority.
Yeah.
So your children, they didn't get here on their own. You made a decision to have your children. And so you have to make a decision to prioritize them as well. And we always tell parents, of all the things that you have to do that you're juggling, there are some things, and we always use this analogy as well. If you conceptualize everything you have to do as different balls, glass balls, rubber balls, plastic balls, you have to know when it's time to drop a rubber ball, that thing that is just not important, that can wait the 1 or 2 days or the 1 week. The plastic ones that will roll away and you can't pick that up eventually. And the glass ones that when they fall and they break, and you cannot put them back together. And your children, and spending time with your children is one of the glass balls that you cannot afford to drop. And you have to make sure that you make that time for them.
I love that analogy. We have a caller from Arima. Good afternoon, a caller.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead with your comment, your question.
Good topic, ladies. What about some adults who aren't capable of being good parents? Even though you're saying don't discipline, don't beat them. But what's the next step? There are some parents we see daily who aren't, they're just mother and father, but they're not good parents. What's the next step? What to do? That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. But you were just saying there's no such thing really as a bad parent.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just bad decisions maybe that you're making.
I think Ovida spoke about culture just a little while ago, and I say it almost every opportunity that I get. We cannot keep making culture an excuse to not move forward. Because the same way we upgrade our phones and upgrade the devices in our home based on advances in technology, we have to get to that point where we acknowledge maybe we don't know all there is to know and we need to upgrade our skills a little bit. Maybe we need to do something a little bit different. Like Ovida is saying, they have so many programs available free of charge to parents. The Children's Authority, we go in to schools, to religious establishments, to companies, anyone who asks us to come and provide information, do workshops, do sensitizations, we do this. So I think it's up to the individual to decide, hey, maybe I need to retool, maybe I need to upskill and take up one of these many opportunities to learn something different, learn something new and challenge ourselves. I think once everyone starts taking that responsibility, that personal responsibility to be different and do different, that we can get somewhere. It's important for us to know that some parents might be struggling right now. They're human, yes, but they are doing what they've been taught. And now we're here to say, okay, maybe you've not been taught in the best way, and it's time for you to take another look. So if you didn't know before, this right now is your moment for you to know, maybe I need to take another look at myself and see where I need to do something a little bit different.
We will be continuing the discussion. We're not over just yet. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you on board yet? Don't line up. Sign up and enjoy the convenience of the direct deposit system from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Yes, convenience is at your fingertips when you sign up to receive your disability assistance and public assistance grants and senior citizens pension directly from your bank account. No need to worry. Your money is safe and free from fraud and theft. So avoid lining up and try signing up. Log on to www.social.gov.tt or visit your local board office for more details and sign up today. Remember, direct deposit. It's fast, it's easy, and it's safe. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Helping, empowering, transforming lives.
Welcome back. It's family time, and we are talking discipline, not necessarily so much punishment, but the difference at least. So we know the difference between the two, and of course, children resilience. And we were just talking about, basic programs that parents can, and they really have no excuse to not actually get into, especially if you find that you're struggling to parent your child, positively parent your child. You're continually shouting at them, licks passing every which way. It's not a good thing to raise a child. The ministry, in fact, does have services available to you absolutely free. And Ovida Franklin is going to tell us about those services once again. Ovida, take it away.
Yes, so at the National Family Services Division under the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, we have programs that can assist parents in parenting their child. And I understand the caller would have said, he's actually saying that, I want to be a better parent, but, I don't know how to, right? And that's where we come in at the National Family Services. So we have programs set up. Apart from our workshops, group sessions that we also have individual sessions for those parents who just want to come in and sit and have their own individual personal space where they can talk with a counselor. So we provide and we facilitate that. We understand that lots of parents don't have the tools. They weren't given the tools as a child. They themselves weren't parent growing up as a child. And so it's difficult for them to give something that they don't have. Right? And I always tell parents, parenting is the most important job there is out there because you're raising the next politician, the next prime minister, the next doctor, right? So you should make time for that, right? You're contributing to society if it's going to be a positive outlook on society or a negative one. You're part of the contributing factor that is going to make society what it is. So it's the most important role anyone can have. Not everyone sees the value in it, and that's sad. All right, and that's why there's no time being put aside to spend with the child because parenting is viewed differently. It's viewed as, I'm going out to work, bringing the money, ensure the child go to school. Yes, exactly. So everything else is missing, right? But remember, you are raising the next generation. Right. You're contributing to society. So your role as a parent, we allow persons to see that your role as a parent is important, very important. Is the fabric of society that is going to be continued to build. Right? So yes, we provide our services to persons who are in need. We also have for the men parenting for men, right? So the men have their own spaces where they can come, and the assistance is given to them. We have experienced persons who have been doing this for years. We have men who are actually being parents, single parent, so they are able to share their experience and to encourage the men who are doing it on their own. So again, you don't have to do it on your own. If you recognize that you need the tools to do it, that's a good place to be, because you recognize that you need help, right? And we love that, right? It tells us that you're ready to work, and we provide that. We facilitate that for you. So come to us. The services are free.
And, you know, someone was pointing out, we do have a Facebook question. I'll get to that very shortly, but I need to have this said. Someone was just saying some people do not have access to, you know, devices to know that these services are being offered or any sort of thing to know. How does one actually know that these services are offered? So they know that it's free, I can access them. They can actually just walk off the street, but how do people know this? What are you all doing for people to know this?
Apart from the ministry's webpage, for those persons who don't have the devices, we have community outreach programs. We have a few going on right now. So in the community outreach program, we share the information. We also give brochures and flyers for those persons who just want to remember the contact information and the where we're located. We also share that. We have radio programs, right, that we do from time to time. So the information is out there about the ministry, right? So whether or not you have access to the internet, social media, our services are available and it's easily accessible. Yeah. It's free of charge. It's easily accessible.
And I learned about this a few years ago, and I was totally enthralled when I heard about this program and the services that you offer, that anybody can just, you know, you have issues with practically anything. The and National Family Services offers free services for those things. And I was like, and I've been pushing it ever since, trust me.
Yes.
We need more people to do that, though. But we do have a Facebook question, and it says, if I believe my child needs therapy, but I cannot afford it, what do you recommend? Are there any local bodies providing such service? Again, Ovida Franklin.
Yes, the National Family Services Division is free of charge, right? We're willing and we're capable of assisting you, assessing your needs, see what your needs are, what the child needs are, and we work together with you as a parent to better the child's whatever challenges the child is having at that time. I must say that we've been having a lot of parents coming in with teens and children that they're having some challenges controlling, and we do welcome that. One of the things we do point out to parents is that we don't work in isolation of the family. So when you bring the child to us, we working with the entire family, because the child is part of that unit. Right? So it's even more challenging if you work with the child and we see behavioral change and then we send the child to an environment that is going to undo all that we are working for. So we work to change that environment, and in that change process we have to include the entire unit. Right? Sometimes parents get it, and sometimes they don't. They do make excuses about the availability and coming in to work to actually do the process and complete it. But when it's done together, we see fantastic results. When it's done in isolation, there are challenges. Yes.
Can I just add really quickly, because the question is a really important one that we get asked quite often as well. In addition to National Family Services, they can also reach out to Childline. They can also access services through Student Support Services Division under the Ministry of Education that provide also those types of services for children. So I know it's a struggle. Therapy is not something that comes cheap or easy, but there are agencies that are working towards providing these services free of charge to families. And so that's just a couple of other options as well to look at.
Thank you so very much for telling us that, because there's so many people who still do not know, who need to know, because they really do need that help and they really cannot afford the help. But there is free help out there. And even if they don't know that, they can still tap into the National Family Services Division, and you would guide them along to wherever they need to go as well. So it's easy.
Yes.
You can even walk into an office. You don't even have to go to the same venue. And I always say this, you don't even have to go to where you're living. You can go outside of your living area if you just want confidentiality as well. Anything from abuse to parenting to practically anything.
Correct.
I love you all for that. I really do. But I want to get back a little bit into parenting styles and positive parenting styles as an alternative to discipline children, because I think parents need to know a little bit more of what can I really do, actual things that I can do that's positive, to help my child along. It's not punishment, but discipline, so that I can actually get them, to do what, they should be doing to be a good citizen to, the country, to society, and that type of thing. What are some of the things that parents can do?
So we want to move away from this authoritarian style of parenting, which is do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
And it's focused really on obedience and not taking into account what the child's needs are, what their feelings are. We want to move away from permissive parenting, which just looks at, I'm your friend, you can do whatever. I might have some boundaries here and there. I might not follow through with consequences. We definitely want to move away from that uninvolved, neglectful parenting style where you feel as soon as they're old enough, they can do it on their own. And we want to move towards that authoritative parenting style, which positive parenting does fall under, where it's built on relationship with the child. It's built on open communication. How do you do that? Pressing pause on life, spending time with your child, first and foremost. And then being explicit with your child. So you can't just expect that they will know what is right and wrong. You have to actually sit and talk to them and engage them. And we feel as though we don't want to do that, but it's important. You have to sit and tell them ABC, and they're going to then learn ABC. You want a model. So you have to be able to show them, this is what it looks like to communicate openly. This is what it looks like to follow the rules and to set boundaries. You can't expect to set rules for your children and then you are yourself disregarding these same rules that you tell them is so very important. You want to also be very mindful of being realistic. So a lot of the times we have these lofty goals, lofty ideas. We need to be mindful of our child's developmental stage and age first and foremost, right? So you're not going to discipline a 5-year-old the same as you're going to discipline a 15-year-old, because a 5-year-old does not have the skills, the social emotional skills to understand everything that you're trying to teach them or tell them in that moment, whereas a 15-year-old should be able to understand a little bit more. So you have to tailor your approach to your child's developmental stage. Please check out National Family Services or call the Children's Authority if you need information on developmental stages of children.
Yes.
And so you want to be mindful of that, be realistic. You want to also try the alternative methods. So introducing withholding privileges is a really good one. You sit, you talk with your child, you explain what it looks like, you tie them into it. We don't want to do time outs, we want to do time ins. So you're taking them away from the thing that they're doing that's disruptive, but instead of sending them to the room or a corner by themselves, they're staying with you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you want to try that as well. You want to be, again, clear with the boundaries. So it's really about open communication. Once the child knows these are the rules, these are the consequences, it's about having that discussion. It's also about knowing when to tap out. When you're not in that place where you can actually engage with your child in a calm manner. So knowing when, okay, you need to take a step back. It's also about understanding the nature. One of the persons on the street said that. It's important to know to tailor your discipline approach to what the actual infraction is. So you're not going to ban the child for a month from TV because they came home and they scored 5 on a test and you're upset about it. Or maybe they broke something. Little children break things. They learn by exploring the environment. And so occasionally they may break something. We can't blow up at them for breaking something or spilling something. We have to be mindful of that and understand that we teach them to be careful without beating them for doing something that is just normal for their age and what they're going through in life, right? So that's important. And I'm going really quickly, but I'm wrapping up here. It's also important to know when something is beyond your ability to deal with. So if you are trying, and you're not getting anywhere, you may need to reach out to a professional. You may need to get some additional help to find out what's happening with your child, what is not working. So there's nothing wrong. Parenting is hard. It is hard. You are human. You are emotional. So it's going to be difficult for you from time to time. So know when you need to reach out and get help. Know when you need to care for yourself as well. And it's important that you build a team. So we need to get back to the idea of a village, that village being you curating the adults, the trusted adults in your child's life who's going to help you carry that load and share that load so it doesn't become overwhelming for you and it doesn't become overwhelming for your child, and that you're able to move forward in a positive light together, growing and learning together. And I think that's important. There are things we can learn from children as we continue to teach them and as they continue to grow and develop.
Okay.
So lots there.
and there's lots more to get spoken about, so don't go anywhere. We do take a short break. We come right back.
Are you on board yet? Don't line up. Sign up and enjoy the convenience of the direct deposit system from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Yes, convenience is at your fingertips when you sign up to receive your disability assistance and public assistance grants and senior citizens pension directly from your bank account. No need to worry. Your money is safe and free from fraud and theft. So avoid lining up and try signing up. Log on to www.social.gov.tt or visit your local board office for more details and sign up today. Remember, direct deposit. It's fast, it's easy, and it's safe. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Helping, empowering, transforming lives.
The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals, families, and households. These support services include counseling and psychosocial support, workshops and webinars, and sensitization sessions under the parenting unit, support to grandparents raising their grandchildren under the grandparenting program. Support is offered anonymously and free of charge. For more information, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extension 6701 to 6711. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Helping, empowering, transforming lives.
Welcome back to It's Family Time. Let's talk. Discipline, punishment, children's resilience. And I just want to touch a little bit more on children's resilience because I want to find the definition or get if it is related in any way to self-esteem, because we know that punishment instills fear, which can do no good to a child's resilience or to their self-esteem and that sort of thing. Discipline actually promotes positive behavior. So is a child's resilience related to their self-esteem? Because fear can do nothing for that.
Yes, absolutely. Punishment actually paints a negative light on the child's self-esteem. If we're going to shout at the child's form of punishment, beat the child for something that the child did wrong, because mistakes are going to happen. It doesn't help. What about just sitting down and talking with the child and helping the child to understand, okay, mistakes are going to be made. We're going to learn from our mistakes, teaching resilience, and what can we do differently? The ability to bounce back after something that would have happened to the child. So it helps to build the child's self-esteem, to have the child looking at themselves in a more positive light. Right? It's okay to make mistakes, and I can problem solve. I can do it differently the next time around. I think sometimes we forget as parents that that just like we are affected by persons that yell and shout at us, just as we are affected when we go to make an order and they mix up our order. Let's say we go to Starbucks and they got the coffee wrong. So I don't know, something like that. and you're with the child and you put the child's breakfast on a red plate instead of a blue plate, and the child gets upset about it. But it's okay for you to get upset at Starbucks and demand that your order come correctly. But when the child do it, right, you want to punish, you want to discipline, all of that, right? Because the audacity of the child to actually get upset because I put it on the wrong color plate. So we have to remember that children also, like adults, they also have emotions that needs to be regulated. And what we can do that is important is model regulation of our emotions. Very important.
Again, it starts with the parent and learning yourselves and being able to control yourself. So that's what the child also follows and learns. Good behavior. We're almost at the end. Krista Ali, your final comments this afternoon.
So I just want to say that punishment really eats away at a child's self-esteem, and that reduces their capacity to be resilient. The positive message that we want to leave today is start praising your child for things that they do well instead of always just pointing out when they do things badly. Yeah.
You did something really good.
Yeah. And it could be very, very simple things. Just notice, little things that they've done and thank them for it. Say, you did a great job.
Yeah. Ahelia Ramdas.
I think it's important, going off of these two ladies, for us to remember, even as adults, as parents, that sometimes even if your emotions get too big, you make a misstep, there's nothing wrong with apologizing for raising your voice, shouting. Go to your child, say, hey, I'm sorry, because that's teaching them. That's teaching them as well how to, put themselves in that place to apologize and come to you when they've done something wrong. So be the role model.
Buenavida Franklin.
Yes. All right. So on behalf of the National Family Services Division, we would like to thank all the persons who came for the past 2 months, participated, presented, all the presenters, invaluable topics, discussion, informations that were shared. We want to say thank you so much. All the staff at the National Family Services that would have participated, our panelists, right? The Children's Authority, thank you so much, right? We cannot stress enough how important it was for us.
Oh gosh, thank you so very much. And thank you for wanting to have this program.
Yes.
And that's our show. Let me thank our guests for joining us this afternoon, you, our viewers at home, and those who sent in your questions, phone calls, everything. Thank you for staying with us all season long. It's Family Time. Let's talk. I'm Ria Ripchansing, and on behalf of all of us here at TTT, have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
We are going beyond the headlines, asking the questions you want answered. Joining us this week is Mr. Antonio Ross, Chief Executive Officer of the Secondary Road Rehabilitation and Improvement Company Limited. Join us this Sunday at 7 p.m. on TTT, TTT Live Online, and Talk City 91.1 FM. We are delving deeper.